Is this a variant monster or is it a subspecies instead? Is it actually pregnant or is it simply a monster in heat? These are now some of the questions that have been raised ever since the release of the Monster Hunter World Official Complete Works Volume 1 regarding the Black Diablos within this particular game. Let's go ahead and quickly explore why this has been a very confusing subject for many people out there regarding this particular subspecies. Hey everyone, Kora Pinoy X here once again, back with another Monster Hunter video. So today we're quickly going to be exploring the Black Diablos within Monster Hunter World just to get a better idea on the information regarding this monster based on the book Monster Hunter World Official Complete Works Volume 1, just because of the fact that there seems to be a little bit of a conflicting information between what the book says and what we know about this creature throughout the years, especially when it comes to the in-game description of the monster. There are two key subjects that we are going to be exploring here very quickly. One is whether or not this creature is actually a subspecies, and the second subject is in regards to whether this monster is actually in heat or not. Let's go ahead and take a look very quickly at the first subject, whether or not this monster is actually a subspecies or something else different like a variant monster. So the subject of the Black Diablos being labeled as a subspecies rather than something along the lines of a variant can be easily explained with first generation Monster Hunter games. With first generation Monster Hunter, every single subspecies were merely recolors of the original creature, and they hit a little bit harder and they were far more aggressive. When you take a look at it from this perspective, creatures like the Azure Rathalos and Pink Rathian would make a lot more sense as to why they still keep their fire capabilities in comparison to other subspecies that we see throughout Iceborne. Now, with this in mind, this also meant that Capcom hasn't fully acknowledged the fact that variant monsters actually existed with these kinds of games. They were making variations of certain creatures like, let's say, the Rusted Kushala Daura as well as the Furious Rajang, but they never labeled them as variants in any way, shape, or form. They don't even make Hunter's Note separate for variant monsters back then. So this is pretty much the reason why the Black Diablos is labeled as a subspecies rather than something along the lines of a variant. It was a recolor of the original monster, and most if not all subspecies around first generation Monster Hunter were mostly recolors of the original creature. So the next subject that we're gonna quickly cover is one that I find quite difficult to do because there's a lot of misinterpretation and mistranslation and even assumptions from the translator's part regarding the Black Diablos characteristics based on the Japanese text on what the developers say regarding this monster. This is actually thanks to Gaijin Hunter that it made a lot more sense for me because I actually tagged him on the developer's notes and he decided to go ahead and do a direct translation of the Japanese text to compare it to the English text that we have as of right now. Now, according to the Japanese version of the text, Tokuda-san did mention that a Black Diablos could be pregnant and still maintain its Black Diablos characteristics. However, they don't necessarily state that the monster that we fight in the game as of right now is actually pregnant. According to Fujioka-san, these creatures are actually carrying eggs inside of their body instead. What this tells me is that the Black Diablos is in heat because it's going through its ovulation period, hence the reason why it's carrying eggs inside of its body. So there is that misinterpretation that happened along the way where it said carrying eggs to the Japanese text, which the translator assumed means the monster was pregnant. So that's pretty much the reason why the English version of the Monster Hunter World book assumes that the Black Diablos is a pregnant Diablos rather than a Diablos in heat. They assume that it's carrying eggs that are actually fertilized rather than simply going through an ovulation period. Now, as a couple of final notes regarding this monster that I found to be quite interesting, Capcom does seem to acknowledge the fact that at this point, the Black Diablos could be considered as a variant-like monster because in both the English and the Japanese text, they do mention that they wanted to have a variant-like monster, and in the Japanese text, they wanted it to be a high-rank monster. So all in all, the Black Diablos being a variant-like monster is something that Capcom has acknowledged to this point, but they still maintain it as a subspecies in order to keep that continuity with this particular monster. monster. Hopefully you have found this video quite interesting regarding the Black Diablos, and for the most part, I hope that I did manage to get the confusion out of the way regarding some of the mistranslations and misinterpretations of what the Black Diablos is all about from the Monster Hunter Worldbook. With all of that being said, what do you think about the Black Diablos altogether? Is there something else that you would like to find out about this monster in future Monster Hunter titles and future books? Or have you done your own research on the creature and there's some interesting information that you have found that I have not yet mentioned in this particular video? Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Black Diablos within Monster Hunter World and any other Monster Hunter games out there. Now with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.